Hey everyone, it's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. I hope that all of you are making lots of incredible sales this fourth quarter. You know, with the holiday season here, this is the time where people generally make the most money in their reselling business. You know, lots of people out there shopping for gifts, whether it's on Amazon or eBay or Poshmark or Mercari. I mean, this is really the time when most reselling businesses are bringing in the most revenue. Now, if this is the first year that you've started out with your reselling business, then you don't have anything to compare your sales in terms of your revenue, both gross and net, to any other year, because this is the first time you've done it. So this is really a benchmark year for you. But if you've been doing this for several years, well, you have data to compare to from prior years. And if you sell on eBay, for example, one easy way to check is just go under My eBay and hit selling, and it will bring up some metrics for you that will show you not only what your comparison is in terms of the amount of sales that you've made in terms of revenue from this month compared to the last month, but it will also tell you how much money you've brought in this year compared to last year. And it's going to tell you if you've been up or if you've been down. And if you're trying to grow your business, your dollar amount should definitely be up compared to the prior year. Now, being up just in terms of a gross dollar amount doesn't necessarily mean anything great unless you make sure that your net profits are going up as well. But certainly starting with the gross profits going up is a place to start. And if you're not showing that your business is improving or growing, and you're just kind of staying at the same level, well, that could be fine if you're doing this as a hobby and you just want to bring in the same amount of steady income over time. But if you're really looking to grow, then staying at the same rate is really a problem, and going down is even more significant in terms of a problem. So you have to stop and look if you see something like that and say, what exactly is wrong? Now, this is an issue that came up recently in my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. You could join that at the link down below in the description section. Someone had asked whether or not people's sales were up or down from this year compared to the prior year. And there were lots of different answers. I mean, some people were up over 1,000%. Some people were up, like myself, about 30%. I'm really up like 32% compared to last year. Some people were down 30%. Some people were down 60%. And I was looking at some of the responses that people put in, kind of scratching their heads, and they're saying, I don't really understand, you know, why things are different compared to last year. I'm doing everything the same, and you know, I'm selling the same things, and it's just you know, it's just down. And you know, things do change from year to year. They even could change month to month in terms of the market. So you really have to be on top of things and move along with the markets. And that's why, kind of like the advice people give you when you are purchasing stocks to invest in, you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. So you want to be able to try to diversify. And in reselling, you want to diversify by trying to sell products in different niche areas. You could specialize in one niche, that's fine. Like I specialize in comic books and I do a lot in toys, but I'm also constantly on the lookout for new areas to break into. And I'm going to show you an example of this in just a moment. And I want to make this video as really a motivational video for you, because I think that a lot of people kind of hesitate a bit in terms of branching into a niche area because of fear and concern that, listen, I don't know this area really well. It's going to take me a while to kind of catch up on it and to learn it and to you know, kind of and study it and figure out how to process the materials and how exactly to list it and the terminology and that type of stuff. And if people sometimes are also worried that there's a risk associated with this. You know, there's a time risk and maybe I'll make a bad investment, that type of stuff. But I want to encourage you not to let that stuff hold you back and to still try and delve into new niche areas. Let me show you an example, and this is something that if you've been following me recently, both in my Facebook group, if you follow my BOLOs, my Be on the Lookouts of the day, and also if you remember my recent video where I went out to a garage sale and I invested in some tools. And this all came about because I had posted a Be on the Lookout item in my Facebook group for plumb hammers, Plumb. Now there's another company, Plomb, which also is very popular in terms of the resale value for some of the hammers that they make. I'm going to show you an example of this right here, okay? So let's go over here. I already have it sorted by ones that have sold in the past 60 days. And they're sorted from highest to lowest. And if you look here, for example, we've got a vintage Plumb, Plumb hammer that's sold for $166.50 plus shipping. I mean, that's amazing. A hammer selling for that much money. Now, if you look at it closely, it's in really, really nice shape for an old hammer. I mean, it really is new old stock. You see it's got that plumb word that's featured right across the handle, right? It's also featured right here on the head of the hammer. Now that's important, and I'm going to show you that in a moment in terms of how important that actually is. Now it's something you might overlook if you're just getting into this area and you're just saying, all right, plumb hammers. I got to look for plumb hammers because those could sell really well. So we'll go down again to another one. You also mentioned how see how it says it mentions that it's a rare curved claw hammer. So there's all sorts of different types of hammers with different terms. Here we've got another type of hammer, and this is obviously a different style to the hammer. I'm gonna get it so it's a bigger view here, but this one also sold for somewhere in the $160 range. It's a nice, what they call double arrow body working hammer. So there's all sorts of different terms, as you can see here. So you know, this is a lot different than your average type of hammer that you would normally see. And when they have these more unique styles, you know, they could sell for you know, for good money. We're going to go down a little bit more. I'm just going to show you another example or two, and you'll see why I'm showing you this stuff in just a moment. Here we got a vintage one here, which this is called a blacksmith hammer. See all the different terms there are that you got to learn. But that shouldn't scare you away. Once you got it down, then you've got it. It just takes a while to learn, but you see how nice this is. I mean, this is vintage, but it's nice and shiny. And this one really looks cool. It's got that nice blend of the wood and the metal there. Now this one sold for over $100 when you factor in the shipping. I'll give you maybe one more example of these before I move on to the next point here. Let's see here. Here's another one over here. There, you see there's a bunch of them that sold for like $80 plus shipping, so still close to about the $100 range with this the ball peen style right here. So you know, there's a bunch of them. You know, here's a pretty unique looking one here, which is called a Fender dent hammer. It's pretty neat right here. Gonna open this one up. This one sold for $70, $80 when you factor the shipping into it and everything. So really cool. Just really neat kind of hammer. So if you remember, I went out to a garage sale, and one of the things that I have wanted to get into for a while are vintage tools. But it's just an area I haven't yet jumped into, have not sold vintage tools before, but I want to because I know that there is the potential to make a lot of money in the area of vintage tools. Now, just by way of background for me, so you know, maybe you think that I look like someone who might know a lot about tools, but it's not that I don't know anything about tools. It's just not an area that I have expertise in. I have, like I said earlier, more expertise in the area of comic books and toys and collectibles and that type of stuff. Now, you know, don't get me wrong. Vintage tools can certainly be collectible. There are people that collect certain brands, but it's just not the type of area that I typically been involved in. And I need to learn a lot more about it to be knowledgeable in terms of which specific items are going to resell. So that's why I've been doing some research about it on the side. So I go to this garage sale. Technically, it was technically an estate sale, but all that was left was items from a it was basically items that were left in the garage. I'll link to the video at the end if you want to see it. So it'll be at the end of this video. And the only thing really available there were tools. There was a lot of woodworking tools like the ones you see here, and I still have every single one of those other tools that I'm going to list. But what jumped out to me in the beginning was one of these plumb hammers. I couldn't believe it. Literally the day before, I had done some research on what kind of hammers sell for a lot, and I saw plumb hammer. So I said, great, I'm going to grab this hammer. Should do really well. You'll see in the video, I'm like super excited about it. I'm like, all right, and here's the hammer right here, just in case you want to remember the hammer. So here it is. Now it does say plumb on it right here. You can't see it that well on this view, but if you zoom in on it, you would be able to see it. It doesn't say it anywhere on the handle. Now, that's not something that I really paid too much attention to at the time, although in the future I definitely will, because if you have plumb on the head and on the hammer, it does make it sell better. Another thing that you would notice if you go back and look at some of those other hammers that I showed you is that none of the ones that sold for really the top value had any kind of significant stains on it. Like you could see here, there's some paint stains on it that the person dropped off on it at some point. So the other ones didn't have that, and that is something that does affect value. So it doesn't have quite that nice finished wood look as some of the other ones do, and turns out that is something that does factor into the value of the item. So when I started to look up this type of hammer and figure out, this head is different from some of the other ones that I saw over here. If you look at these top ones that are selling, none of them have this kind of look to it. Now it turns out that this is a stonemason hammer. Some people call it a chipping hammer. Now, I have one of these actually, so it's not like I've never seen one before, I haven't used one before. Like I said, I do own one, not from this company, but like a modern one. But it's not a term that jumped to the top of my head when I was out there in the field looking it up and trying to research the comps. So I'm looking up comps for plumb hammer. I'm not looking up comps for plumb stonemason hammers. But when I came home, I identified it. And just so you know, if you look over here, you'll see that none of the top selling hammers for plumb are the stone mason hammers. None of them. So when I started researching it some more when I got home, I saw here that there were some stonemason hammers that sold fairly well. Like you could see this one, though this one was brand new, so it's new old stock. It's got a nice shiny wood base to it. The word plumb sticks out really well here on the top. Like if I zoom in on this, you could see it better. So check this out right there. See, you could see there's plumb really prominently there up top, and there's plumb right there across the handle there. Compare that to the hammer that I have. Plumb is engraved into here, but it doesn't stick out so prominently, and again, it's not here on the handle. So those are things that I have now learned are features that you really want to look for when you're looking for this type of hammer. So I don't obviously have one that's exactly like that, although the shape is obviously similar. And if we scroll down a little bit more, what you'll see is that there's another one here that's sold for $23 plus shipping. But besides that one, all the other ones wound up selling for somewhere in the teen range. Now you got to factor shipping into it as well, but the final sale price was generally below $20 here. So here you see one for $16.50. Here you saw some that didn't even sell. Here you see one that's the best offer. Here's one $8.99 plus shipping. So this one looked pretty similar to the one that I have right here. You could see this is the last one here. It's $17.99. Actually, the reason why it looks so similar to the one that I'm going to show you is because that's actually mine. That's the one that actually sold. And the sale price there, it says people want blooper. I'm going to keep that in there, but that's actually an example of something that could be a little blooper. But that's actually mine. So mine did sell, but it sold for, actually didn't even sell for $17.99. A person made me an offer of $13 for it or something like that, and so wound up meeting in the middle. Sale price wound up being $15.50. So compared to what these really high prices were over here, and the excitement that I had when I first saw it, when I was out at the estate sale and grabbed it, what it ultimately wound up looking like when I was doing the research on it, and then what I ultimately wound up selling it for, kind of reminded me of that song on Sesame Street that they used to do when, like something would happen to Bob that was kind of embarrassing, that like Oscar the Grouch would do to him. You kind of go, wow, wow, wow. Wow, 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 wow. That's kind of how I felt. I was so excited that there's going to be this great sale, and turns out that, this was not a $150 hammer. This was, really a $15.50 hammer. So now, I paid $15 for all the tools. So I still have all the other tools left, and I know I'm going to still turn a nice profit on it, but I'm not going to make what I originally was hoping for. But the point is that this is my first time that I'm jumping into buying a collection of tools. Now notice what I did. I didn't go out and buy a pallet of tools. I didn't go out and buy 500 tools or something like that. I went out and bought a small lot of tools based on some research that I did. And then when I got home, I did some additional research on it, and I fine-tuned it, and then I gained additional information on it that I could use as knowledge the next time that I go out sourcing. Now I have a lot more information at my disposal to look for. And so, I tell you this because it's still going to wind up being profitable for me. It's still something that I'm going to do well with, and I'm going to, again, use it to try to do even much better in the future. But this is why you really shouldn't be fearful jumping into new areas. There's definitely a learning curve with all of these different niches that you want to jump into. So, maybe you decide you want to take a stab at comic books. Well, don't go out there and buy 2,000 comic books. Maybe buy a short box of comic books based on some of the information you've seen on my videos and on other videos and on some research that you did yourself, and see if you could turn around and flip that. Or I've actually had several people email me about the Funko Pop video that I did, and that they learned a lot from that. And one person, in fact, emailed me today, said he went out, bought a small lot. He's already made his money back on it, and he's doing well and making some nice profit on it. So he thanked me for the video. And this is the first time that person jumped into Funko Pop. So, I just, again, say this just for inspiration, because you really do need to try to diversify into other areas to grow your business. This was the only thing that was left actually at that particular estate sale that I went to that had any resale value. And if it wasn't for me trying to branch into tools, I would have walked away from there empty-handed. So it turns out, I will make some nice profit from it overall. There's lots of great woodworking instruments that I got from there, for example, that I know will flip well. But the hammer didn't turn out to be the thing that, was going to bring in, the mega bucks or anything like that. But that's okay. I want to emphasize, it's not like, that's why I did that video recently. People were asking me about, what are, some of your lowest sales or things like that. People need to know that you're not always going to go out there, and I certainly am not going to go out there and hit a home run every single time. You can't always hit the grand slam. But that shouldn't be something that prevents you from going out and trying to diversify your inventory. So my challenge to you is to pick an area that you would like to get into, that you have not gotten into yet, and make that a target for next year. It's not too early to start thinking New Year's resolutions. Start doing a little bit of research in the completed sold section on eBay or on Poshmark or wherever. Maybe it's a certain type of clothing or clothing brand you want to get into. Or maybe you haven't even sold clothing yet and you want to start getting into that. Watch haul videos from people like Rockstar Flipper and Raking Profits and Wade's Ventures. Look at those types of places. Look at my haul videos and stuff, and try to learn things from these other categories. Research BOLOs, be on the lookouts items of the day. I have one every single day in my Facebook group. So, you know, find something, branch out into it, and start bringing in extra money. Because, you know, if you think about it, if you know at least a little bit about a lot of different areas, then when you go out to a sale, there's an increased chance that you're going to be able to find something there that you otherwise may have just passed up because you didn't know anything about it. So knowledge is power, and knowledge equals money in the reselling business. So I hope that you found this video helpful, inspiring, motivational. I want to try to do more of these types of motivational and inspirational videos for you, especially next year. So that's going to be a goal of mine as well, because I haven't done a ton of that this year. But it's definitely something I want to you know, branch out to and do some more of those types of videos for you. So I hope that you found this helpful. If so, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I'm very happy. We're over 1,800 subscribers, so I'm excited to get closer and closer to that 2,000 mark. It's pretty exciting. Thanks so much for all of your awesome support. Hope that you're really enjoying the content here. Make sure that you, again, come to my Facebook group, links down below. Follow me on Instagram, that's @prime_time_treasure, and I will see everyone back at the next video. See you later, everybody.